I've listened to Honorable and I've listened to some of his colleagues.
Okay.
You can see that there is a push of the blame elsewhere as to why they are increasing tariffs, which is not the appropriate way to start.
Is the PRC that announces tariffs?
No. But he says something which is very fundamental. We need to clarify that side before we can put on the building blocks.
Okay.
He said that the IMF agreement was what the previous government agreed that there will be quarterly increment in electricity tariffs or other tariffs. My colleagues have made it very clear that there is no such an agreement. In fact, before I came to air, I predicted this in my camp. I've clarified with a lot of people. They said there is no such an agreement. So the NDC should tell people that we have a decision to make, and this is the decision we have made. But you cannot push the decision to make such a choice on the fact that somebody have more or less made it to be binding on you. That is just irresponsible. And this is what we know. The campaign on reset, so far, the reset is not going very well, in my opinion. No. Having said that, so perhaps they should go ahead to publish where they think the agreement required them to make a quarterly adjustment. So having said that, let me put this in a proper perspective. Ghanaians need to be aware that it is a choice that they have made. Just 2 weeks ago, they celebrated with fanfare the fact that they have cancelled various taxes and that it's reducing the burden on the Ghanaian. And they were very happy about that. But you can see the practice of robbing from Peter to pay Paul. Having cancelled that side, of which I welcome the e-levy. It was unpopular tax, I agree. And even regardless of which party won, if NPP had won, we know that the e-levy was going to go. But for the betting tax and others, the jury is still out there. My opinion is that these were bad decisions. In fact, we should be discouraging the youth from staking lotto, and we should be discouraging the youth from betting in general. But this is the decision that they have made. After all, I mean, morality doesn't matter. After all, a Sunni Muslim is now heading the national lottery in the country. So, you've got a chance.
But Council, where from these religious arguments?
I am just trying to buttress the point that when it comes
Ghana is a secular
to morality,
you are not talking about a Muslim heading whatever institution.
When it comes to please, you have had your chance. Let me rest. You can then have the opportunity to rebut. Otherwise, we cannot flow.
Go ahead.
Yes. So you have made that decision to put burden on Ghanaians by increasing tariffs. Just make it very clear that we have given you this and we are taking this away from you. But do not push it that it was somebody who made you to take that decision. That is just an irresponsible way of doing governance. So you have made that decision and you are putting the burden on the Ghanaian. Make it very clear. Now, and another complaint Ghanaians have is they do not see value for money. Because since you came, as we try our best to keep the lights on, Ghanaians are beginning to experience that the doomsday that they accused you previously is beginning to creep in gradually, because there are reports everywhere that they are beginning to experience problems with electricity and lights. So you need to make sure that the Ghanaians have a value for money. I don't know what really informed the fact that, what informed your decision to increase the tariffs, even though you are trying to push the blame to the previous government. But whatever informed you, you need to be guided by the principle of value for money. And since you say you are here to bring relief to the people, is this a choice that can bring relief for the people? For me, it doesn't look like that. So perhaps you need to look elsewhere. As you said subsidy might not be the right way. But instead of subsidizing, maybe if you think the Ghanaian is already overburdened, that was why you were voted into power. Perhaps you could make choices elsewhere that will affect people with deeper pockets. I'm not sure whether this increment is across board that affects the poor. The very fact that you campaigned that you were here to safeguard the poor, it doesn't look like that if it is being increased. I mean, look at the trade-off. E-levy, perhaps the poor would have sent about 200, 300 a day, or even 50 a day. How much would have been the impact on them? Probably 1 or 2 cedis. Now the increment in these tariffs by whatever percentage. Look at that particular burden. If a citizen were to do analysis of this trade-off, he would know that keeping e-levy and not increasing this thing would have been better off. So as we keep reminding our NDC colleagues, when you're opposition, talking is very easy. But the sweetness of the pudding is in the eating. So far, the people who will be eating this electricity will know that it is not that sweet.
But Ishaq, you just said that.
Yes.
If the NPP had won these elections,
yes,
you would have still maintained.
You
would have scrapped.
Yes, I mean it was very clear in our manifesto.
Yes, you would have scrapped e-levy, betting tax, and so on. And then you would have still reviewed tariff upwards. I thought you had.
I didn't say that.
You didn't say that.
I didn't say that.
Okay,
Tariff.
okay.
I said e-levy.
E-levy. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
But the question for you is that: are you saying that the person who today is not paying e-levy and not paying betting tax is still not better off, even in the face of these tariff increases?
How many people are doing the betting? So, vast majority of people in Ghana do not do betting. The e-levy.
So for the person who was paying the betting tax and the e-levy, they are still better off.
No. I mean, vast majority. I don't know. I don't have the.
I'm saying that those who are, were paying those levies.
Betting is already a vice that almost every country, both Islam and Christianity, both agree that betting is a vice.
Right.
And so the probability of winning the lottery is almost as being struck by lightning. So it's already a vice. So I believe we ought to have discouraged that one. But what I'm trying to say is that they proud themselves as people who are on the side of the people. That is why they have cancelled those taxes. They celebrated it last week and 2 weeks ago. And the point I was making is that I agree with the cancellation of e-levy. We introduced it and we accept that it was a mistake. That was why it was in our manifesto that we were going to cancel it. But having said that, the same party that claimed they are on the side of people is going to bring about this increment in tariffs. So the point I'm just trying to make is that they should either communicate to the Ghanaian very clearly that we are doing this, so that people can actually do their own analysis. Whether cancel all this taxation and then making this increment in tariffs, are they better off or worse off? And if they are worse off, are they really the party that is working for the people? So this is what I want. But you can see that they are all their statements from him here this morning to their other communicators. The point is that this thing is binding on us because the previous administration have reached this agreement with the IMF that we have to be doing quarterly increment. That's not the best way to communicate. And as I said, they are faced with choice. Government always have choice. And they could have leave the tariffs over there and go for elsewhere where maybe the people who have deeper pockets will be more affected. My point is that this tariff is going to affect the poor more than the relief they were given in cancelling e-levy. So this is choices that they have made. And they need to communicate clearly so that Ghanaian can praise them for that. This is a party that has campaigned on recent.
Okay.
But they kept making reference to the previous administration and how difficult it was. No one doubted that it was difficult. It wasn't just Ghana. The world was in a difficult place. He made reference to 2002. But he has forgotten that from 2020 to 2022, 2023, it wasn't the cost of living crisis wasn't just Ghana. So we're in a difficult period. Everywhere in the world, things are getting better. So I don't know. It's difficult for people to really forget the period that we were in. You have to remember that these problems, we anticipated them that 2023, 2022, it wasn't going to be easy. You remember the president issued a statement where he said that we know how to bring economies back to life, but we do not know how to bring people back to life. And that he was going to prioritize people. This was a statement from a statesman that was celebrated worldwide. So we anticipated some of those problems. But this is a party that has campaigned on what? Reset. But they are still on the campaign mode. You said that you could make things better. And that was why Ghanaians agreed to give you the power. But look at the 14% increment you are bringing. We don't have similar emergencies and exigencies that we have in 2020-2021. So just accept and explain to the people the situation we are in. We members of opposition can only see the insensitivity on your part that says that you are giving people 1% elsewhere in e-levy and then bringing a whopping 14%. And you try to look at some of the sources. We want you to publish the source that you said the IMF require you to do that. And maybe you can help make your case to Ghanaians. We believe that the agreement do not contain such information, but you said the agreement does. So publish that agreement for Ghanaians to see.